What's up everybody, trueeevil here, and today I want to talk about one of my favorite debuffers in all of Etheria Restart, Viper. Now his kit is amazing because he can become one of the most annoying characters in PvP, so let's just explain why he's so great. So the reason why Viper is such a menace in PvP and a lot of niche situations in PvE that come up, like in Ember Trek, is because of his passive, which makes it so that he gives everyone on your team a flat reduction to critical hits, which if you see a Gray or a Rosa, that means Viper is going to be going ham, because that means he's going to have either a 40 to 60% chance of counterattacking every single hit, which is insane because his counterattacks are a lot better than a lot of other counterattacks, because once he accumulates enough serpent skin, he can unleash his ultimate on a counterattack, which is super annoying because he dispels, gives those debuffs, they cleanse it, and then he immediately counterattacks and gives it to them. So they basically can't get any buffs and they're just permanently not doing much damage and slow, which means your team is going to absolutely destroy them. So this kit is very simple yet effective. And he also has silence on his skill 1, which isn't going to come up until you upgrade it a little bit. But, you know, silence is amazing and can save you a lot of times. So, damage reducing and gives those good debuffs. So, for Viper's Prowess investments, the first thing I would actually recommend is just one lattice into his skill 1. That way he gets that extra 100 attack, and he sort of needs it because he has a very weak attack on its own. So just getting that little bit of damage increase is going to really help Viper out. After that, you're going to want to completely max out this skill 3. Not only is it really nice to have the cooldown reduced, so it's basically like you have attack down and speed down up infinitely, but he is able to dispel 2 buffs with the level 4, which is insane, as well as just gets that nice effect accuracy that you want on a debuffer. Then you're going to want to go back to skill 1 and then level up to level 4 for all the speed. I wouldn't get the level 5, which makes you start with 2 stacks of serpent skin, and when you have 4 you get to do the ultimate. It is nice, but I do think maxing out some of the points in the skill 2 first, I would get that 30% damage reduction and then a 60% counterattack chance on a crit before I get this. That is my personal preference. You can do it however you want, but I am mainly using Viper for this. So I definitely want that before the thing that just makes him a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? So for his shells, we're going to start with Black Flag, which I usually go at the very beginning, but I highly recommend not using Viper at the beginning of the game because he's not really meant for that early game campaign farming. What he's meant for is debuffs and despelling. So because of this, Black Flag is the first shell that he can really utilize because he wants to go as many turns as possible and lay down the noise. So we want Swift Rush on him, and right now I have a defensive stat because, you know, I just have it and a lot of effect accuracy on that piece, but you actually want to have Bramble for the 8 because even though he has counterattack built in on his passive, it's only a 12% once built up. So you want to have that 25% chance because, you know, it still counts with the serpent skin and lets him ult even more. So just a great character to have Bramble on. Now for mythic shells, there are 2 options for Viper in my opinion, and the first one is Lighthouse. Now the reason why Lighthouse is good is because it gives you that extra healing and turn meter increase when you take substantial damage. This means he can get a quasi bloodbath effect while still having Swift Fast and Bramble. So that's why I think this one is really strong in PvP, especially against cleave teams. Now his other shell for final builds is Jackal Guard, which is just the Black Flag upgraded version, but it is a little different because it no longer has Bramble. So how you would play this shell is you can either go Swift Fast or Bloodbath. It really depends if you want to play a bulky tanky version or a speedster version of Viper. Both are very strong, so pick either Swift Fast or Bloodbath, and then you're going to pretty much always want Bulwark, just because you want that immunity so he can do that skill 3 at the beginning of the game. And then for the final matrix on both of them, you're going to want Swift Smite. He wants that speed and he wants that effect accuracy. So for Viper's modules on the right side, there's two ways to build him. Either way, you're going to want to have two pieces of effect accuracy because the most important thing with Viper is laying down the dispels and debuffs. But we also need to see how we want to play him. Do we want to play him as a tank or do we need to play him as a speedster? If you want to play him as a speedster, then you're going to want crit rate, crit damage, speed, and then a tiny bit of HP and defense to make sure that he stays alive. If you go that speedster route, you're going to want crit rate for your third piece, and those are the substats that I mentioned before that you want. But if you go the tank route, then you're going to want this to be an HP percentage piece instead of crit rate. This is going to make him very tanky and combo with characters like Rahu to make an impregnable shield that will absolutely dominate PvP. So for team compositions with Viper, in PvE you generally just only use him when you see the mechanic has some sort of high critical chance from your opponent, or if you just need to get that dispel and debuff somehow. Like in Aurora, you're going to need a dispeller, so Viper shines there. Now, in PvP, it's another story. Viper is an absolute monster. If you see them pick a Gray or a Rosa, Viper is going to reduce the damage significantly from those two, as well as Viper is just great paired with any bruiser to make a super tank combined with his passive. For example, Viper and Rahu is an amazing combo. Hellkid and Viper is an amazing combo. They're a little bit different where Rahu just keeps scaling this defense, and combined with Viper, he basically becomes unbeatable after 2 waves, and with Hellkid, the passive just combines with the Shroud Barrier to make it so the Shroud Barrier can't be destroyed by damage and only by dispel effects. And the great thing about that is that if you picked Viper, then there's less of a chance of them having a dispeller since you picked your own. So that's all I would like to say about Viper for now. Amazing dispeller debuffer that can be super funny when a lot of critical hits are happening and he's just spamming his ultimate. So if you have any questions about Viper, please leave a comment, but I'm going to leave it there.